I've always wondered just what the difference is between a demon and a ghost. Now I know. Night of the Demons stars LINNEA QUIGLEY, Kathy Podewell, and is directed by Kevin Tenney. What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new review. This is an 80s flick. It's called Night of the Demons. And this is a patron requested review. Kelly Marie Farrell, she requested this. She's been one of my patrons for a while now. I have these like tiers for my patrons. And if you pledge like a certain amount, a certain tier, then you can actually request one review a month. And she is part of that tier, which I think is called Full On Bloodbath. But I'm so glad that she recommended this movie right here, Night of the Demons. First time I've ever seen it. Huge LINNEA QUIGLEY fan, but LINNEA QUIGLEY has done a million movies, it seems like. She is the bona fide B-movie scream queen in my mind, and the camera loves her. But also, before I get into this review, wanted to give a quick shout out to Levi Hogan. He actually sent me Ginger Snaps. He asked me, hey, is there a movie that you're wanting to review in the future that you haven't seen? And I said, yeah, actually, Ginger Snaps is one that I've had my eye on. And then I checked my mail and boom, Ginger Snaps was in my mailbox. Thank you so much, Levi. That was really nice. So this will definitely get a review. I've already watched it. Really enjoyed the movie. I can't wait to get a review out for this. But yeah, and look at that cover. Shout Factory, you know, coming through again. Just love their cover art. But anyway, let's get on to the review. First off, quick plot synopsis. This is one of those fun 80s movies. If you like Return of the Living Dead, if you like Evil Dead, you're gonna see a lot of those type influences in this movie. But it's about these kids, and they're going to this Halloween party, and they decide to have it at the Hall House, which used to be like a funeral parlor, but it has quite a shady past. It is considered to be not haunted, but possessed. And that's one aspect I really like about this movie, is they specify that this is not a haunted house movie. This is a possession movie, and the difference being,
a haunted house is a house with ghosts in it, the spirits of people who've died. But the spirits living in a house possessed have never existed in human form. They've only existed in spirit form. They're pure evil. They're demons.
now a little fun factoid is this originally was going to be called Halloween Party. Throughout the whole shooting schedule, it was going to be called Halloween Party. And then, like right at the 11th hour, Mustafa Akkad from the Halloween franchise actually said, hey, do not use that name, you know. And I'd never known this, that I thought, you know, you can't use the name Halloween, but I didn't know you couldn't use Halloween and then like a word after, Halloween Party. And I'm sure there's other movies after Halloween came out that actually have the name Halloween. But I guess if they used it, they could have gotten into some legal trouble that they didn't want to do, so they changed the name from Halloween Party to Night of the Demons, which I prefer the name Night of the Demons anyway. You know, right away you know what type of movie you're getting into, whereas Halloween Party, that could be anything. But back to the plot, once they get into the Hall House, then all of a sudden things start getting really creepy and eerie. They do this seance in front of the mirror, and then the demons are summoned. And what's cool about this is director Kevin Tenney, he approached this like a slasher movie actually. Victims are being picked off one by one, but the difference is once they're picked off, then they become demons. So it's like it starts off with a large count of humans, and as they're being picked off, it becomes a large count of demons. So really fun premise actually. Now, first thing I really loved about this was just that whole 80s vibe. My favorite horror films are from the 80s. That is a decade that has never done me wrong. There's just something about characters in today's horror landscape that just feels completely different than characters in the 80s. Call it innocence, call it lack of technology, call it whatever you want, but it's something that we'll never get back. There are movies that are inspired by the 80s today, but there's still that something there that's missing that can only be captured by the 80s. And this movie just captures it in spades. I loved all of these characters, even if they didn't have like the greatest acting chops, because you're gonna notice bad acting in this movie, just like you do in, say, Friday the 13th movies. but it doesn't get in the way of the fun. There's your key word. It's a fun experience. It's a fun movie. And plus, this is not A-level horror. This is B-level horror. And a lot of times B horror movies can be really fun. This is a perfect example. And this is a title that I'd heard that name before, Night of the Demons, but I never really vested interest in it or was seduced into actually checking it out. So I'm so glad that Kelly Marie Farrell asked me to check out this movie because I freaking loved it. Now, speaking of characters, I have to talk about LINNEA QUIGLEY. I love her to death just because every movie that she does that I've seen, she sticks out well above the pack. There's just something about the way she delivers a performance, not just audibly, but visually. She always just really has some sort of flair about her. And this movie is a great example. She steals just about every scene that she's in.
Do you guys have sour balls?
Why, sure we do.
Too bad. I bet you don't get many blowjobs.
And one thing I noticed about her is, at face value, listening to her, you'd say to yourself, she's not a good actress. But for some reason, there's a way that she delivers that line that it works, even though it doesn't sound like the best acting. I hope I'm making sense, but I think if you watch a lot of her movies, you'll understand what I'm talking about. She just has a unique way of delivering a line. It's not like the straightforward, seasoned actor type of way. But for me, it works. That's just part of her charm. And one of my favorite scenes in this movie is the lipstick scene. She has this thing with lipstick, especially once she becomes the demon. And there's a scene where she is drawing the lipstick down her chest and around her breast. And eventually she pushes the lipstick into her nipples. So it starts off as kind of an erotic scene, and then it turns into a what the hell scene. Also, another character that I loved to death in this was the character of Angela, played by Amelia Kincaid. Now, Amelia Kincaid was actually a seasoned dancer when she got this role, and she really took over. She said, hey, I'm a dancer, let me come up with my own choreography for this scene, and that's what she did. And that's one of the best scenes of the movie, actually. She really takes control of that role. She doesn't even have any demon makeup on in the scene, but she's already really creepy. And she has this talented dance scene to boot, which is awesome. And I love the song that they played in that scene. It was just really catchy, really cool. Had that 80s vibe that we know and love. And then she kisses the character Stooge, and then it gets really creepy because then there's the strobe light comes on, the camera pulls back and you see her demon face with the blood pouring down. Once it gets into full demon mode in this movie, it gets pretty creepy. And it's a great movie to watch on, say, a Halloween night. As a matter of fact, it's one I'll probably watch again in the month of October. And that's a good segue into the last thing I really loved about this was just the whole atmosphere of it with the cinematography. A lot of great decisions were made along the way. And I think as a cinematographer, it must be nice to do horror movies because you get to play. It's like your playground, you get to create this creepy atmosphere. And this movie is really just full of it. The house itself is a character in the movie, and I got so interested in it that I was curious about it and did a little bit of research. And the house, I believe, is still there, but it's a business now or something like that. But in the movie, you'd swear that the house is in a secluded area, but in actuality the house was just on a block surrounded by other houses. So that's just movie magic. But Steve Johnson did the makeup effects, went on to marry LINNEA QUIGLEY, lucky bastard. But the makeup effects in this are really good. This was his first movie where he pretty much had complete full control. Whereas before that, he had worked on a lot of bigger budget movies, but he, was kind of the second or third fiddle. This was his baby. And, he creates his stamp for this movie. It has a unique look as far as the demon makeup goes. And to me, it's unique. It works. If it doesn't look like everything else, then that's a good start. Now, as far as any cons, this is one of those type movies that you could pick apart along the way. You know, it's B movie horror. But nothing really like stuck out at me that I hated or anything. You know, I had a blast the whole time. This movie's a ride. That's what it is. It's a fun ride. Definitely giving it a high purchase worthy. So glad that I finally saw this movie, and I'm curious about the sequel. So let me know in the comments if I should even bother with the sequel. I recently reviewed Demons, which I loved the hell out of that movie. That's very different vibe than this movie. A little bit more hard-edged by Dario Argento, or at least produced by Dario Argento. But yeah, I had a blast with that movie. So I'm getting into demon movies now. So, and that one has a sequel too. That was my point. Sometimes I forget what my point is. But yeah, that one had a sequel too. Curious to check that one out. But is the sequel to this one good? So anyway, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. I was at Spooky Empire last weekend. I met Linda Blair. I had a blast. She actually signed this VHS tape, Exorcist II: The Heretic. She was a complete sweetheart. Loved the hell out of her. And actually Matthew Lillard signed my Scream VHS, which was cool. Also, guys, be sure to follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and now Stardust. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out, baby.